March 10th, 1876, the telephone transmitted its first complete...
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Welcome to this month's edition of The Future is Now. We're here outside of the Kent Showware Center, site of the Kent School District 2010 Technology Expo, which will be held on January 27th at 6 p.m. In our last episode, we explored how technology is used in the classroom. If you missed a past episode of The Future is Now, you can check it out at our website at techforkent.org. Today we will see how students are being prepared for their futures by learning through technology. Here in the Kent School District, learning and technology come together even at an early age. Let's take a look at how Hillary Baker, a teacher at Park Orchard Elementary, is using smart boards every day in her first grade classroom.
I have created a calendar program that goes through, on the smart board, goes through basic calendar skills as well as math skills that I want kids to be practicing every day, like counting money, 16 cents. Tanya?
Nickels.
We could start with nickels. Okay. How many nickels do you think we would need? 3, so I'll get 3 of those down. Okay, there's 3 nickels. Knowing more and less, and 10 more. 10 more. Which direction do we go for 10 more? There you go. 56. Adding up the amount of days we've been in school, telling number stories. Yeah, you have to have that unit. All kinds of interactive. You'll also see lots of songs that my kids like to sing about math. Dollar has 100 every time. How many pennies are all that money? Since this is my 3rd year doing it on the smart board and not on an actual paper calendar, and I've noticed much more engagement with the kids. Also, the interaction that the kids are coming up, they're touching the smart board, they're interacting with the math tools that are on the smart board, and I see that the skill development has gone a lot quicker. 5 tens, good job. And you see the 5 full ones up there. It has changed my teaching the smart board to a degree that I don't know if I could teach without a smart board. My light bulb went out a couple weeks ago and I had to go a few days without my smart board. And the kids were devastated. It was like, what happened to our world? It's made teaching much more exciting for me and exciting for the kids. I also wrestled with not having a calendar left up on the wall to refer to, and the last couple years I have not put up a calendar. And I did notice that my kids used to refer to it, to write like the days of the week in their writing or be able to know when a holiday is coming up. So my kind of response to that this year was I put just my regular calendar that I would normally have, I put it on the front of my desk. And so they can still refer to it and we still put things on there. But every day we look at the electronic smartboard calendar and practice the skills with it. I'm not scared to approach some new technology. I've always just jumped right into it. And I feel that with my kids. You go into the computer lab and they're just ready to try and they're clicking and they're doing things. And I mean, as first graders, the first time in the computer lab, they were all able to log in successfully, which I've never had in the past. And that's because of the exposure. And by in the world today, many of the jobs you need to be able to use technology. And if we don't prepare them for that, then we're giving them a disservice.
I remember when I was in first grade and calendar time didn't look anything like that. It sure has come a long way in 11 years. We'll be right back with more stories of how technology prepares students for the future after this short break.
You can use technology on a laptop. You can use technology on a handheld. You can use technology on a smartboard. You can even use technology through the power of your mind. See it all at the 2010 Kent School District Technology Expo, January 27th at the Kent Showware Center.
From elementary school up to middle school, technology still helps students no matter what stage they're at in their learning. At Northwood Middle School, teachers are taking advantage of the one-to-one laptop program to help their students understand even the more complex concepts. Denise Kazoyan is using GeoSketchpad, an interactive geometry program that allows students to create numerous objects and analyze them to solve difficult math problems. She uses this tool in her 8th grade geometry class.
Our math coach uses it. Mary Lopez does a lot with Geometry Sketchpad, and she was showing me something. She was in geometry, and they were doing the trig unit. She said, there's a Sketchpad thing that does, okay, so she showed it to me. And so I did it with them. And then the following year, I would do maybe 1 unit a quarter with them. So I did that with them. And then last year, I got to the point where I created my own lab for them to do on triangle centers and stuff. But I didn't use it that much because they didn't have their laptop all the time to make sure you had the cart or the lab. I was always, to get it for 3 classes, I couldn't do it. So this year I was like, oh, they have laptops all the time. I can do Sketchpad whenever I want. This year I was going to make sure I just integrated it into everything, when I wanted to. I could demo proof things instead of doing it on paper. One day I thought, I can do chapter 3. It's all transformations. I don't like to draw those on paper. Why should anyone have to do a rotation on paper anymore? It's all on the computer. And they can do so much more. I see a lot more interest in it. I mean, I've never had a class forget to leave, which is what that one class did one day when they were working on their project. And I said, 3 minutes, save everything. And the next thing I know, the bell rings, and 20 kids, not one of them moved. They were still all at their laptop. And I waited. I said, you guys, that was the bell. The bell to leave? Oh. And then they got up and left. But I've never had a class do that, miss leaving class. That level of interest I don't see. And they start to pay more attention to definitions because Sketchpad is just tied to that. If you don't understand the concept, the geometry concept, or the geometry definition, it's not going to do what you want it to. I would say that Geometry Sketchpad enhances the learning of geometry. It just reinforces the concepts, and it gives me a different way to teach it. I'm always looking at different ways to do things because you got to try to reach all these different kids, and one way doesn't work. Did you prove that this was bisected? This is congruent to that? So it just is another way to get them to understand something. And it works so much better that we have the one-to-one program because they have their computers every day, and I don't have to fight language arts for the lab. They always work in groups, and they're always talking with each other, and I think the one-to-one is just taking it a step further, that they're very confident in telling each other things. And with computers, even more so.
But since ADC says it's 90, that means that it has to be perpendicular bisector to BC. Well, put it down there. All right, I will put it down.
I watched the first Sketchpad lesson last year I did with a class, and you'll hear, I can't make this show up. And from the other side of the room, you hear, do this. I mean, it's like it's one big group. They share really easily with computers. On Monday, we introduced the isosceles triangle theorems. They have been learning about hypothesis and conclusions. And so the hypothesis was if you have an isosceles triangle and all we had was the definition that the sides were congruent, what else is true? And then today's activity with Sketchpad was to show another way to prove it. And this is one of the things that I sit down with Sketchpad and I do it ahead of time. I'm going to make sure that it works. And I'm walking around the room, I'm like, I never thought of doing it as a circle. And so then to demonstrate it, have the kid tell me what they did, and the rest of the class go, oh, that's easy. Where that was at the point that I realized a lot of them hadn't done it that way. They had done it the other way. And so it was just, I'm constantly learning from them. And especially with the technology, you can learn a lot from them. But you have to create that environment where they feel comfortable. And then it doesn't bother me that they find something out that I hadn't thought of. And so it's a good learning experience for them and for me.
Having great technological resources in the classroom can help students learn and help teachers communicate and instruct. But even as we move outside of the classroom, we can see places where technology is getting students involved in exciting and unique ways, making them eager for their futures. We can see evidence of this everywhere. Mike Simpers teaches a drama class at Meeker Middle School that includes a student-operated news broadcast. This broadcast provides students an opportunity to run their own news station and gives the entire student body a new and engaging way to hear all about what's happening around their school and the community.
This is my second year